What up, my sippers and stoners? It's MeannaDK checking in once again. And
it's just me and my disciples talking to God while we smoke dope.
Get into it, okay? Quick recap of where we were the first 2 weeks. We discovered what EQ was. We talked about why it was important, how it's beneficial in everyday life. And I have been encouraging people to go take the test online. It's a free test, and it tells you what your EQ is, okay? What's up, Lacadia? How you doing, boo? So, what's in my cup? It's a green juice mixed with pineapple, cucumber, and ginger, flaxseed, chia, I know, long time, right? Okay, so, continuing our recap. Hey, what's up, Tish? Continuing our recap. EQ, okay? What are some qualities of someone with high EQ, high emotional intelligence, or someone with a high emotional quotient? Let me let you know. Here are the fruit from the EQ tree, okay? Time management, decision making, change tolerance, assertiveness, empathy, stress tolerance, anger management, trust, flexibility, accountability, social skills, customer service, and communication. Those are the fruit that come from the EQ tree, okay? I'm going to say it again, what they are. And that doesn't mean that someone who is highly emotional intelligent cannot miss a couple of these, but it means that people who are emotionally intelligent will thrive in these areas. Doesn't mean it won't be a struggle. It just means that they'll thrive. You understand what I'm saying? What's up, Marvinia? How you doing, Kevin? Hope y'all are having a good evening. It only shows me y'all, but so I don't know who else. What's going on, Hadari? How you doing, King? So again, a high emotional quotient. What's up, Jay? Will yield these things: time management, decision making. EQ is emotional quotient. Okay, emotional quotient. Time management, decision making, change tolerance, assertiveness, empathy, stress tolerance, anger management, trust, flexibility, accountability, social skills, communication, okay? I thought it was interesting that trust is on there, but let me tell you why. Trust is on there because it requires a certain amount of vulnerability for a person, right? And in order to be vulnerable, you have to be aware of who you are and not have a problem with it, right? Okay, so here are the scores. The average score on an EQ quiz is going to be anywhere between 90 and 100. That's the average EQ score, okay? So if you scored anywhere between 90 and 100, you are right on par with the average, okay? I think the highest you can get is 160. And so I've seen a couple of tests. I took several EQ tests, right? Okay, so I posted the one that is the easiest to kind of derive where you are, right? So out of all of the emotional quotient tests that I took, what's up, Mai? How you doing? Average 160 was the high, okay? I never took the quiz. Where do I get it? The last post that I posted about this about an hour ago, I put a link to the quiz in it. So just go to my previous post, click the link, and you can take the quiz. It takes about 5 minutes, maybe probably less than that, okay? Okay, the high score is 160. I seen some tests that had a high score of 200, right? Those are few and far between. On average, all of the tests that I took had a high of 160. That was a perfect score, okay? So for those of you who did take the test, where did you fare in that? What was your number? I'm interested in knowing, Maisha, what your number is. So if you haven't taken the test, I want you to. I want to know what it is. Okay, so my number, my score, I got 3 different scores on average. Okay, so I got 133 on one score. I got 140 on another score, And then on one, I got an 89, right? So I was like, damn, okay. So I took another few different ones, and I got anywhere between 133 and 140 points. You got 128. That's dope, Ash. That's great. That means you have a high EQ, okay? Or at least above average. You know that your EQ is above average, okay? So I want to talk about how EQ plays in, and I kind of drew it out, and I'm not the greatest artist. However, this should give you an idea of how people are set up. I just seen a drop in the people that are on the live. I'm assuming they dropped because they went to go take the quiz, and that's what's up. I appreciate that. Okay, so people are made up into 3 parts, okay, on average. So I'm going to get this close enough to see. Can y'all see that? Hit the like button if you can see this. Or do I need to get closer? Because I can't really see. Oh, if I get under, I could probably see. Okay, so the average person is made up like this. You got your IQ, your EQ, and your personality. You see that? Okay, so IQ, EQ, and personality. That's what the average person is made up of, okay? Now, you see that the only space that they interact is right here in the middle. You see that? Right there. That is the only space where all 3 things overlap. So you can tell that not one thing is more important than the other. People say if they have an IQ, that who's a movie star looking ass? Is that me you talking about? No, I'm joking. Okay, so your IQ is just as important as your EQ, which is just as important as your personality, guys. Okay? They overlap in a very small space, which lets you know that is not very much. There's not very many times that you're going to encounter all 3 at the same time, right? So you see how it's in. People put a lot of stock into your IQ. I remember coming up, people with high IQs were revered. But now I'm learning, just because you have a high IQ, you can still be broke, busted, and disgusted with a high IQ, okay? Because if your EQ is not good, you will not know how to manage yourself or manage others. And I'm going to get into that just a little bit right now, okay? Are you guys enjoying this? I hope I'm giving you something that's helpful. Please hit the like button if you're enjoying this information, this information. What's up, Mia? How you doing, Mia? You good? Hey, Will. 125. Hey, that's a great score, Lacadia. 125 is a great score. So like I said, they all overlap one time. Okay? One time. Right there in the middle. Okay. So I want to touch a little bit on those things that I was talking about with EQ, like the fruit of the tree is what I call it. Your time management, your decision making, your change tolerance. I want to touch on just a few of them, right? Let's start with change tolerance. You ever meet someone that's super resistant to change? They've been doing something the same way for the last 20 years, whether it work or not. It's just how they do it, right? That's someone who probably struggles in the emotional intelligence area only because they refuse to adapt to anything new. And when you are self-aware, it makes you available to adapt to anything new. Damn, my head is hurting. Itching. So, I want to talk about that, okay? I want to talk about assertiveness as well. Assertiveness does not mean mean. It doesn't mean aggressive. It doesn't mean disrespectful. It means that you are very sure about what you want. And you are able to state that in no uncertain terms. Like, hey, no, this is what I need. And you're being... Assertiveness to me is akin to confidence. That, in my opinion. Now, if someone else has a different definition, I am totally open to that. I'm just telling you how I feel, okay? Trust. I touched on that a little bit ago. Trust requires vulnerability. It requires you to be able to let your guard down with whomever it is that you're dealing with, right? And that takes more growth than anything else. You ever meet someone who always say they got trust issues? I got trust issues. I don't trust nobody. I don't trust nobody. Ain't that what he said and you got served? Listen, those people suffer from a low EQ. It likely means they've been hurt by someone in the past and have not done the work to heal. They've not done the work to forgive, and they've not done the work to move on. And as a result, they have trust issues. And if you ask them why, they can point to the exact situation that broke them down, or the exact person, or the exact thing. It just means you haven't done the work to heal. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what that's about. Okay, and also it means that you haven't forgiven yourself for some things. I've noticed a lot of times people who have trust issues, they wouldn't even trust themselves in the same situation. So it also has to do with self-reflection and, of course, being self-aware, right? Accountability. A person cannot be a highly emotionally intelligent person and not be accountable. Have you ever seen someone that every time something happens to them, they blame it on someone else? It's either the white man, or it's the black man, or it's the black woman, or it's your mama didn't give you the titty, or it's your daddy wasn't there, or it's, whatever it was. I didn't have no balance in my life, or whatever. So, your live left my phone and jumped on the damn TV. Oh, shit. Hey, I like that. Whatever it is, they have no accountability, though. Zero. They're not able to be responsible for any of their actions. They can always look at somebody that they can point the finger at. Those people have a low EQ, I promise you, okay? Communication. Communication is a big deal, okay? It's not the type of thing that you can just glass over. Communication is not just talking. Okay? Effective communication requires more than just talking. Effective communication requires trust, flexibility, accountability, vulnerability, all of these things. So if you look at this list, I'm going to show you my list right here. Okay? If you look at this list, they are all tied into each other. You can't really have one of these things without having the other, if that makes sense. Okay? So, in order to have great stress tolerance, you have to be good at anger management. In order to be good at anger management, you have to possess empathy. In order to possess empathy, you have to have change tolerance. It means you have to understand people that are not like you. All of these things are tied in together. And all of them work in concert to make an emotionally intelligent person, right? Is he getting away from you? Is it getting above your head? Not above your head, but just away. And it's okay if it is. Okay, so awesome sauce. We've talked about the scores. We've talked about what they mean. So you can understand that if the high score is 160, an average score is 90 to 100. If you're anything below 90, then you're probably below average in your emotional intelligence, right? Now, let's go ahead and unwrap this big ass phrase, emotional intelligence. Let's stop looking and let's change how we look at the word emotional. Because what's true is we tend to look at emotion and emotional as women things, or as things that have to do with women in general. Men generally do not like to tap into their emotional side. You don't see a lot of men saying, "Hey, I'm emotional." Do you understand what I'm saying? Even if they are, you won't see them claiming it, is all I'm saying, right? What's going on, Stetson? And how you doing, PJ? Yours is high. What's your number? Did you take the test? What's your number? People were coming back and reporting their numbers. My emotional my number, I took about 6 tests altogether. And my number is, I'm going to say anywhere between 135 and 145. But I'm just going to say 135. Let's just say 135 is my average number, right? So, I like it. So, okay, what we're going to move into now are the 4 pillars, okay? And we're only going to deal with one pillar today, but now that I've gotten all that other stuff out of the way, you're able to, I'm hoping you're able to properly receive when we get into the 4 pillars and how they work for you in your own life, okay? Okay, so the 4 pillars that make up emotional intelligence or emotional quotient are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. I'm going to say it again. Self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. Okay? And they break it down into 2 parts. You have your personal competence and your social competence. Those 2 things go up to make the 4 pillars, and the 4 pillars make up your emotional quotient, or how your emotional intelligence works. Okay? So let me know if you're still with me, if I am speaking your language, or let me know if there's anything that I need to go back and touch on again, if there's anything I need to go back and repeat. Okay? If there is, then I don't have no problem doing that. If you want to go back and retouch on the scores, we can do that. If you want to go back, let me show you the circle again, though, okay? Because I think it's important for the men to understand why I say let's take the whole woman thing or the female thing off of how we look at emotion or emotional things, right? Because the whole person or the entire person is made up of 3 parts in this way. So I'm going to hold this up again. I don't know if y'all can see it, but your entire person is made up of 3 parts. You got your IQ, which is your intelligence in your mind, how that works. Your EQ, which is your emotional intelligence, and your personality. Okay? So 3 things is what you're made up of, and they only intersect right there in the middle. Very, very seldomly do they overlap. Okay? Okay. So in terms of the 4 pillars, again, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. Those are very important. And so what I felt we should get into right now, before we get into self-awareness, next week we'll dive into the first pillar, okay, which is self-awareness. But what I would like to do is talk more about using it as a human thing and not a male or female thing, right? Because we all know that emotions are, they say, women are emotional when they cry, or women are emotional in this situation or that situation. But really, though, emotions, we all have the same ones. We all deal with the same ones. We all deal with all of the same emotions. We just handle them differently based on what our emotional quotient is. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I just want to make sure we're looking at things the right way. I want to make sure that we're not, being led away by just the name of a thing. You understand what I'm saying? Anyway, I appreciate y'all for stopping by and hanging in for this particular live. Next week, we will delve into the 4 pillars and what they mean for us. Next week, we'll also delve into what it takes to change our score. Because keep in mind, it doesn't matter what your score was, because it's changeable. The difference between your IQ and your EQ is your IQ is your ability to learn, your ability to process information. That's what your IQ is, right? But your IQ is the same at 15 as it is at 60, okay? Your IQ never changes, meaning your ability to learn is the same at 15 that it is at 60. Okay. Your EQ, however, is different. You're always able to raise your EQ numbers when you are ready to do the work, but it does require work on self, right? So when you're ready to do that, you're more than able to. And we have all of the tools that it takes to be successful in that area. So that's what we'll get on next week. Again, for those of you who have, wow, 128, that's great. That's great. So for those of you who have any other questions, you can definitely slide them in my inbox. We will get on the first pillar next week. I'm glad you guys are taking the test and knowing your numbers. You can definitely review this live. You can go back and look at whatever you might have missed while you were taking the test and, see how those numbers apply to you and where you fall on the spectrum. And you can always go back and review any of the other lives from the EQ and talk about how those things might show up in your job performance, how your EQ reflects even how you relate to other people at work. You can go back and look at all of those things on those previous lives. So again, until next time, I am MeannaDK, and I thank y'all so much for tuning in. And I love y'all. I swear I do. This is the ending of my video. Oh, thank y'all for watching.